entering the 4th week of Shovavim, the week of Parshas Beshalach, we also come across another tkufa in our calendar, the day of Chamisha Asar B'Shvat, better known as Tu B'Shvat. I want to take a moment to understand something about Tu B'Shvat, which I think is very fundamental in our Avodah during these days of Shovavim. The Gemara in Masechtas Tainis tells us that on the 15th day of Av, Chamisha Asar B'Av, the Yidden stopped cutting the trees for wood for the Mizbeach, because since on that day the power of the sun begins to diminish, the trees are a little moist and the wood will rot. And the Marsha in Baba Basra Daf Kuf Chaf Aleph wants to know, when did they start cutting this wood? The Gemara tells us they stopped on Chamisha Asar B'Av. But when did they start? The Marsha says, I think that they started on Chamisha Asar B'Shvat, on Tu B'Shvat. Because on Tu B'Shvat is the day when the sun begins to burn brighter. And I once heard from Ramaylich Biderman, soll sein gesund und stark. And he asked, how does one understand this Marsha? One doesn't have to be a scientist to know that Chamisha Asar B'Av, which is the middle of August, and the months which follow it are a lot hotter, and the sun burns a lot stronger than Chamisha Asar B'Shvat, the middle of January. How can the Marsha tell us that in a certain way the sun is stronger on Chamisha Asar B'Shvat, and then we start cutting the wood and we're not scared it's gonna rot, than in the summer months, even though the sun began to diminish, but it's so hot outside, there's so much heat. What's so unique about Chamisha Asar B'Shvat? And he said a beautiful pshat. He said, when you want to see how hot something is, you don't look at how big the flame is. If you want to see if the heat is real, you look if the heat is starting, but it's in a growing mode, it's heading up, or even if it might be a very large thing, but when it begins to die down, it begins to burn out, it doesn't have that power anymore. And he said that that's a lesson for each and every one of us. If one wants to know how connected he is to the Rabbi Shalom, how hot he is in his relationship to the Rabbi Shalom, learn from Chamisha Asar B'Shvat. It might be cold outside, it might be freezing, but if it's beginning to kach, if it's starting out something, we're on a mahalach, we're on a path, sebrenta fire, it's a lot hotter than when it begins to burn out. And Meirei Rabbi say, I really think that lesson is alluded to in this week's Parsha. Klal Yisrael experiences a Yetzias Mitzrayim, a Kriyas Yamsuf, the Man. Klal Yisrael's on a high. But we have an enemy, Amalek. Who's this Amalek? We know from Chazal, Amalek is the Yetzer Hara, Amalek is the Satan, Amalek is the Kayach Hara, the force of evil in the Bria. And Amalek can't stand it when we're on fire. And what does Amalek do? Asher korcha baderech. Amalek tries to cool us off a little bit. What does Amalek think? That we're going to stop davening? That we're going to stop learning? That we're going to stop trying? He knows he can't do that. But he wants to cool down the fire. He wants to make us post Chamisha Asar B'Av He can't stand seeing us as Tu B'Shvat type of people, that we're on our way up. And the Torah tells us that Amalek came, and as Chazal teach us, Amalek never left. That Milchama that Amalek has with Klal Yisrael, Asher Korcha Baderech. That Milchama that Amalek has with Klal Yisrael, to cool down the excitement. Take it easy. That Milchama is everlasting and will be here until Mashiach comes. Milchama Lashem Ba'amalek Midar Dar. What do we have to do to ensure our victory over Amalek? What do we have to do for our personal victory over the Kayach Hara, over our personal Yetzer Hara? Rabbi say, we have to light the fire. What do I mean light the fire, Rabbi say? Maybe this 4th week of Shovavim, midway through Shovavim, Tafshin Pei Dalet, maybe we can try a little bit to work on a chiyus and a bren in the things that we're already doing. We're davening 3 times a day. We're saying Psukei de Zimra, Birchas Kriya Shema, Shmoina Esrei, Ashrei Uvalat Tzion, and Aleinu. Mincha and Ma'ariv. We're all learning sometime throughout the day. We're keeping Shabbos. We're having Shabbos Sudas. How about we make it more exciting? How about we light that fire within ourselves, even just a little bit, to put more of a cheshek and a bren and a geschmack into our Yiddishkeit, into our Torah and mitzvahs. And if we do that, we're fighting head on with Amalek's Asher Karcha, who's trying to cool us down. And if we do that, and especially at this time of year of Chamisha Asar B'Shvat, Parshas Beshalach, Shovavim, that fire which we ignite this week can be the fire which will finally eradicate Amalek on a personal level and on a klal level. And maybe that fire will be the fire that will ultimately lead to the ultimate victory over Amalek, when Yehei Shmei Rabba Mivarach La'olam Ula'olmei Olmaya.